Так, потихонечку движемся. Буквально полчасика, может даже меньше.
Right. It's definitely an armillary sphere, but I have to find one that I can take with me. Otherwise, I risk drawing too much attention to my comings and goings. Now, right. Let's see if the statues are in place yet. That statue is not positioned correctly. Open sesame.
Здесь я ищу Библию.
So that's the exegesis of Judas. I hope Mortimer doesn't read it very often, otherwise he's going to notice that someone's stolen it. But that's just too bad. I need it. Caesar's laurel wreath. If Mortimer really is what my mother says he is, it could mean... No, that's impossible. No, not Caesar. The Ring of the Nibelungs. Even if Mortimer is several centuries old, I don't see what part he has in this legend.
Так, а здесь все? Значит, все, да.
Right. I've got what I need. Now let's not waste any more time.
Угу.
Right. This time, it'll be a lot quicker. If I remember rightly, the code was 1191.
Ну давай уже.
Of course.
Devil's Thorn.
It's locked. Weaknesses of the Human Psyche by Gilhelm Trimor. Gilhelm Trimor. Trimor. An anagram of Mortimer. Wow. Arrogant enough to publish writings on mental control in full view of everyone. I wonder who he's writing for. There. Those are the nails I was looking for. I noticed they were old and rusty, but I hadn't noticed these traces of... Could that be blood? Is it really the relic of the Holy Cross? I can hardly believe it. A hand of tarot cards. I should have learned my lessons in card reading a little better. Feathers, pigeons probably. All right, come on, let's get out of here. 6466, if I remember correctly.
Ah, Louis. Glad you're here.
Blasted. He's gonna talk about my mother.
Come and see what I've found. There are pieces of paper in the ashes of the chimney. Someone's been burning something here.
Incredible. He doesn't seem to want to speak to me about what happened between my mother and the Hillsborough sisters. Show me a little.
Look, it's possible to distinguish two different writing styles.
The rest of the correspondence between my mother and Emma.
Someone tried to burn an exchange of messages. I'm certain. There must be more.
Shit. What on earth is he doing?
If you want my opinion, a servant must have burnt some old papers, that's all.
Why, of course. You very nearly made me think that you were trying to hide something, Louis. No, I'm sure there must be other hidden messages.
He won't let go. He's going to work his way back to the Bible if he continues. The Bible's still there.
Осталась сфера, которую
Devil's Thorn. I'll
не
keep
знаю,
it.
где искать. Кстати, надо, наверное, пошариться в комнатах.
An armillary sphere. Perfect. That will save me some time. I only hope that he isn't going to realize it right away.
Ну, если у тебя карманный парень, конечно.
Torquemada. Quite the contrast. Wow. The fanatical priest who created the Inquisition. Since I have no time to lose, so I might as well not bother him. My dear Giuseppe. Venus and Cupid with a Satyr by Correggio. Innocence, indiscretion, and lechery. Giuseppe must love that.
Amber crystals.
Кстати, не помню, в каком году я был. Вроде как был. Можно проверить еще раз.
Prometheus. Punish Don Quixote. Talking without thinking is like shooting without taking aim. You have to think about that one. Manuel Godoy. A painting of himself in his room. Now that's not going to help him develop a sense of modesty. Don Quixote. Talking without thinking is like shooting without taking aim. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Amber crystals.
Что ж, спасибо. Как будто никого и не убивали. Теперь еще стоят. Кстати, может я смогу попасть в его комнату через балкон? Нет. Я комнату Адрес пропустил. В принципе, что там делать? Уже были там неоднократно.
So, good. You've managed to gather all the keys.
Yes, that's right. I have everything. What should I start with?
Place the Clement III cross on the console. Then you have to put the nails on the disc of the door.
What hole should I put the nails in?
Well, I can't really advise you there, because I haven't exactly made the best choices myself. All I can say is that you have to insert 1 to choose a town, 1 to choose a chapter, and 1 to choose a verse.
What theme did you start with?
As the fresco shows the birth of Christ, I placed 1 nail in Bethlehem, 1 in chapter 2, and 1 in verse 6. The iris opened a little. I thought it was normal. Behind the aperture of the iris, there is a duct in which I put my hand. I felt something like a valve at the bottom. I thought by turning it the door would open, or the iris would open completely, or something else would happen. Instead, I felt something like an axe cut off my hand. I really thought it was the end of me.
What did you do then?
Well, although I had made some unfortunate choices, I was lucky in that Mortimer was well stocked with drugs. I raided his supplies of medicine.
All right, my turn now.
Go ahead, impress me. I'll shut up and let you concentrate.
This exegesis contains comments from Judas on the different Gospels. It only contains certain chapters and verses, and the chapters are indicated by Roman numerals. The lexicon refers to different chapters and verses from the exegesis of Judas. The cycle of the moons has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. Chapter 19, verse 17. Jesus was crucified on the 8th of Nisan, 3793, in a place near Jerusalem. The Romans put a crown of thorns on his head. Chapter 19, verse 17. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, on either side, and Jesus in the midst. Chapter 19, verse 17. Jesus was crucified on the 8th of Nisan, 3793, in a place near Jerusalem. The Romans put a crown of thorns on his head.
О, нормуль. А, наверное. У нее все правильно было просто.
It looks like there are 3 types of inscriptions. These towns have one thing in common. They're all related to the life and death of Jesus. For example, Jordan is the place of the baptism of Christ. Clearly, we have names of towns, Arabian numerals, and Roman numerals. There are 3 styles of writing, and I've got 3 nails. There must be a link. I must surely put in 1 nail per category. The fresco clearly shows the birth of Christ.
Louis, I can assure you that that is not the solution to this enigma. This fresco's only purpose is to mislead. I know that now. Please, focus on another theme about Christ.
We'll have to trust her. If Mortimer deliberately set a trap by showing the birth of Christ, then maybe the solution is the contrary. The death of Christ in that case? You could see that the paint has come off in parts. Difficult to see what was there, but I can distinguish the letters N-R-I. Nothing more. Why, of course, I-N-R-I. Jesus Nazarenus Rex Eudorum. These initials stand for Jesus the Nazarene, King of the Jews. This is the inscription which appears on the cross at the crucifixion of Jesus. Yes, it's definitely a representation of the birth of Christ, but some of the details have flaked away. I can't see any other clues. One thing is for sure, this enigma deals with the life of Jesus, like my mother said.
Так.
Chapter 19, verse 17. Jesus was crucified on the 8th of Nisan, 3793,
19,
in a place
17.
near Jerusalem. The Romans put a crown of thorns on his head. Chapter 19, verse 17. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, on either side, and Jesus in the midst.
17 Голгофа. 17. 17. Голгофа.
It works.
Well done, Louis. I hadn't seen those other wheels. Try connecting the theme to see if it goes all the way.
There must surely be a connection between the wheels. Look at this. There are notches between each of the wheels. So, I have to link the name of the town from the theme I've chosen to an icon, then to a date, and finally, the date to the moon. This wheel contains several symbols made up of 1 or 2 figures and 1 letter. The highest figure does not exceed 31, and each letter corresponds to a month of the year. A for April, and M for March. I think these symbols must represent a specific date. There are different icons on this wheel, but it looks like some of them can't be connected to the other wheels. I think I can make out each one of the icons apart from the one covered in blood. Going clockwise from the one I just mentioned, we have the halo that represents the resurrection. The waves represent the baptism of Jesus. It's more difficult to identify the next one. Maybe a crib, and in that case it's surely linked to the birth of Christ. The red herring that my mother followed. Then, the symbol represents the crown of thorns that Jesus wore during his crucifixion. The dove also represents the baptism. Certainly another red herring. Then comes the symbol of the Trinity. And finally, the candle that must stand for the Last Supper. Now, given the difference between the number of icons and the number of towns, I think that only one path connects all the wheels with one another. Let's try to connect the theme I've chosen with the rest. This wheel represents the different moons. In the occult sciences, we represent the full moon by an X. As for the dark moon, called the new moon, in cults, it's often associated with something harmful. The totally black moon corresponds to the new moon. So, going clockwise, we have the waning crescent, the last quarter, the waning gibbous, the full moon, the waxing gibbous, the first quarter, and lastly, the waxing crescent.
Так, у нас было 8 Ниссана. Восьмое апреля. Вот там 26-го там. Не. 6. Есть. Сука.
Let's see what combination corresponds to the chosen theme. By following the clues in the Bibles and the architect's notes, the crucifixion took place on the 8th of Nisan 3793, according to the astronomers of that
Так, 8
time.
Ниссана
That would
3791.
correspond to March 26th in the year 33 on a modern calendar.
26 марта 33-го.
Let's see what combination corresponds to the chosen theme.
Угу. Ну, распятие, скорее всего. Что тут думать? А что с фазами? Хер